Hello, folks. Welcome to the Corrective Culture Podcast. Today we have a very special guest, Kit Dale. Thank you so much for coming on. He's a Jiu-Jitsu black belt. He got his black belt in 4 years, but not only that, he's a professional manifester, I would say, and also a writer. And we always love to get people on that are just fucking going for their dreams. And from the very short time I've known you, I can tell that that's what you're very much doing. So welcome.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. It's funny you say professional manifester. I feel like I'm the opposite. I feel like nothing manifests for me. I feel like I have to like do everything.
Yeah.
And, you know, I get like my partner or, you know, my mum sometimes. I'm like, can you manifest something for me? Can you? Because it doesn't seem to work for me. I got to work really hard.
Yeah, fully.
And man, I was just saying, because it's a trip for us, because when I started jiu-jitsu, I started in 2012, and that was still relatively newish at the time in Australia. Like here locally, I think there was only a couple of black belts. It's crazy how much it's grown. But the very first video I saw you, and this is what was cool, right? You were the first one I saw to bring comedy into jiu-jitsu and not take it so serious. And the very first video I saw was when that big dude was doing a like an arm drag or arm toss on you, and he's like, just relax. And I actually thought it was real at the start, because that was the very first video. I think that went viral, right?
Yeah.
And that was like almost you cut through the bullshit right at the start, because there was a lot of bullshit. It's almost like Aikido style that was coming into jiu-jitsu, and there wasn't a heap on YouTube even. It was just all these little things. So it was really cool to see also someone from Australia really taking ownership in the jiu-jitsu scene. And you were the first person I knew from Australia in the jiu-jitsu scene. And actually the very first instructional I ever bought was what would have been like 10 years ago now, I think, of I can't remember what it was called, but
might have been Beyond Technique with Nick, or was it
Art of
Learning Jiu-Jitsu?
Art of Learning Jiu-Jitsu.
Okay, yeah.
I think there was volumes to that, wasn't there?
Yeah, I had volume 1 and 2. They came out together.
Yeah.
And then I think I did a 3 later on. It was more of a no-gi version of it.
I had all them, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was so cool. It was so good. It started that way of thinking, and why we can relate to that so much is because that's the way we think about the body. Like how you explained at that workshop last night, man, how everyone learns lots of different techniques, but they don't get the concepts. And that's the same when I got into the rehab field. You start thinking, oh, what do you have for a spondy? What do you have for L5 disc bulge or L4 disc bulge? Instead of literally stopping, looking at it, thinking about the physics and the mechanics of it, and coming up with a plan to rehab that. So it's cool that you've done it in your own career path, and it's just a trip that you're now sitting here in front of us. Like, the world's just done this so much to us, though.
Yeah, fucking know. So how did you, like obviously now you're living in Hollywood and you're getting into writing and things like that, but let's take it like back to where it all began for you. Like, what were you a driven kid? Like how did you get into jiu-jitsu? I know you played AFL, you said earlier.
Yeah. I feel like as a kid I was a really lazy kid, and I don't think I really got a lot of love for being lazy, and I think it's perceived as lazy, but I think I was more efficient, and I just didn't like wasting energy on things that I wasn't interested in or I didn't want to do. And you rub people up the wrong way, and I think a lot of the time my parents looked at me as just a dumb, lazy kid, and I probably came across that way. In school, I struggled. I didn't pay any attention. I wasn't interested in learning anything the way it was displayed, because it was in a copy and paste kind of manner, the industrial age model of education, repeat and regurgitation, and I had no interest in learning. So I felt like an idiot for most of my life as a young kid. And it wasn't until I started doing sport that I started getting a little bit of appreciation for being decent at something. And that felt good, to get, love from your father, that otherwise probably wasn't, you weren't doing anything to get his attention. And then suddenly I got that. So and I was playing inline hockey at the time. And I remember that was my first I did play a little bit of Aussie rules football when I was like 9 and 10. And I wasn't bad, but something happened and I became unbelievably shy and timid, and I went into inline hockey and I was playing that, and I started doing pretty good, and I just realized like I had like kind of knack for learning things, and I ended up trying out for the state for inline hockey. I actually should have got in. I didn't. There was a lot of politics in there. I didn't get into the state, but I would have if I continued to go, and I just quit because my dad paid me $20 to play football, which was a lot of money back then.
Yeah.
I still have that money. That set me up for life. It was expensive for him back in the day to I was still growing, and you got to buy new skates, new helmets, new gear every single year, and it's expensive. We didn't have a lot of money growing up, so he paid me $20 to play Aussie rules football, and I went to Aussie rules football, and I really struggled. And I think there was something about playing inline hockey where you have a helmet and people can't see you so well that I felt like it wasn't me, and I could feel a little bit more free. But being almost naked in football where everyone can see you, I was so scared to even call for the ball because I didn't want to make a mistake. I didn't want to be looked. So I would be open. My dad would be like, kick it to Kit, he's open, and I'd just be like, not even calling for it. I'd be just like, please don't look at me, please don't look at me. Or where's my man? Come and get on me quickly, And then I slowly started overcoming that, and I started freeing myself up because I was talented, and I shouldn't say talented. I was learning, but I couldn't put it out there because I was so damn nervous. And then I slowly started breaking through that with every single game I'd play, I'd get a little bit more confident, and then I started getting appreciation for playing well. And this was something I felt like I didn't get for anything. So I started getting better and better, and I ended up playing. I think we won some premierships. I played interleague, went to the senior squad, and we had probably the best local senior squad in the whole country at the time. We had a lot of money. There was a guy, Alan Webb, who recently passed away, but he was a huge supporter of our football club, and he became very successful, and he put a lot of money in there. So me and my younger brother, Adam, my middle brother, we were the only two people from that town that were playing in that football team, and everyone else was recruited from AFL. We had 6 ex-AFL players. We had mostly VFL, WAFL players. So we had a really good squad, and we had a really good coach. So I learned a lot playing with that. I started doing very well. I ended up playing senior interleague. My brother played as well. And we're doing quite well. I ended up getting selected to try out for, and I can't remember the team, but they were a VFL team, and they were the reserves for St Kilda. And at the time, I was like, okay, do I pursue this, or do I pursue this new passion that I just tried out, which was jiu-jitsu? And the reason I tried jiu-jitsu is because I was playing football. I was probably 20, 21 at this time, but I looked more like I was 17. I was very underdeveloped muscularly, and I was very timid. So we played in a very rough league, and it was the first division YVMDFL back in the day. And we were kind of along par of like the Diamond Valley divisions, and they were just full of just meatheads that just loved to fight. Still good footballers, but they weren't afraid to fight. So I ended up getting hit behind the play a lot of times. I remember getting punched in the stomach and falling down, and I was just like, if I get up and fight this guy, he's going to kill me. And I don't want to get killed. So I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, I can't defend myself. It's a lose-lose situation. I'm a loser because I don't defend myself, and I'm going to lose if I try and defend myself. This guy's going to whoop me.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that feeling. So I looked for a mixed martial arts academy, and I found one with a friend of mine now, who's now my black belt underneath me, is Rob Parmakovsky. And he had a Jeet Kune Do school, which is using the philosophies of Bruce Lee. And we did some stick knife fighting, some boxing, and then we did a session of jiu-jitsu. And I remember I was quite athletic. I was small, but I was still quite athletic. And I was playing first division. I was playing senior interleague, and I felt like, I'm a good sportsman. I'm a good athlete. There's this little weasel that I'm going to be training with. And I'm going to destroy this kid. And this kid annihilated me. I was like, God damn it. No matter what I did, he just had an answer. He's just like a terrible white belt, really. He could just destroy me. So I was like, I really found that interesting. And I really liked the mechanics of it and the problem-solving style of what jiu-jitsu really is. It's not really what it's taught, the way it's taught, but it's what it really is. And so I started, training, and I got to a point where I'm like, okay, do I do football or do I pursue jiu-jitsu? And I thought, I love football, but really outside of Melbourne, Australian rules football is not really big. And you go anywhere, and if I tell anyone I played Aussie rules football now, they're like, oh, you played rugby. I'm like, no, I played football. You played soccer. And I'm like, no, shit, doesn't matter. I played something, we ran around with a ball. So I chose jiu-jitsu. And then that's how I got into jiu-jitsu, and I did quite well with that. I went from white to black in 4 years, and I spent about a year on black competing before I pretty much retired from jiu-jitsu. I did come back and compete, but I really did retire then. That was the last of me professionally trying to take the competition level professionally. I still competed, but it was more just for fun and competing while I'm traveling, Europe, and then deciding, I'll do the World Championships. I haven't trained in two months. I don't care. Who cares? It's just fun for me. And I still did very well, but I wasn't really taking it professionally. And then I got kind of bored of jiu-jitsu after a year at black belt. And I think because at that point I'm like, okay, I had won a few world championships going through, Brazilian nationals. I got my black belt faster than anyone in the world without any prior grappling experience. And where can I go from here? Okay, I could win a black belt world championship. It's going to take a year or two probably. You just got to put time in and compete and get a lucky draw and do well at the time. That's, I was at the same level as everyone else. It's just you just need to get a good run. And I thought, what's it going to do to me that's going to change my career? Not much at all. What do I want to do? I'm like, I don't love jiu-jitsu. I want to go back and play football. And my brother was coaching, and I thought, actually, sorry, I lie. I didn't say I wanted to go back and play football. I just quit jiu-jitsu and I went back home. And because I was in London, and it was like, I just fought at Polaris, and I had 10 seminars lined up, and it was cold and wet and depressing, and I just wanted to go home. I ended up booking a flight that morning, like early morning, and just took off home. And then my brother was coaching football at the time, and I thought, I'm just going to go run around with him and just have a kick. And then I just loved it, and I was like, okay, I think I want to play again. And they offered me some money to play, so I started playing. I had no money, so I started playing, and we were at the bottom of the ladder, and we ended up going from the bottom of the ladder to the top of the ladder. Wow. And I used a lot of my coaching methodologies that I learnt in jiu-jitsu in football, and we just excelled. I got the guys tackling, like learning how to really tackle with takedowns, and we just killed people when it came to like pressure because we just tackled and we're all over them. I changed a couple ways we looked at training. Like my brother had a rule when we were training, and it was like if you dropped the ball or you missed a target, the whole team had to do 10 push-ups. The problem with that is what happens is everyone slows down and makes sure they hit the target, which anyone can hit a target at that level and catch a ball, and no one wants to miss because they don't want to be the reason why everyone did 10 push-ups and stopped the training. What I said to him, I said, make it different. Make it that if anyone drops a catch, if anyone doesn't do it at 100%, they get 10 push-ups. And I don't care if they miss the target or they drop the ball. If they're going 100%, they want to hit the target. They want to catch the ball. We already know that. It's just I want them to turn that intensity up. So they started doing that, and they were just so much more incentivized by catching a ball and hitting a target while going 100%. Because it looks so much better and it's so much more difficult. And then that translated into the game day where they started doing really well, because they were so calm under pressure because we trained under pressure. We put ourselves under pressure all the time, and we got really good. I ended up, 2 seconds before the siren went, I went to pivot around a guy, round 5, and I snapped my ACL, just totally destroyed it. And I was trying to come back for 10 weeks, thinking it wasn't as bad as what it was, and then I was training with Lachlan Giles, and he checked it out and did a little test on me, and he's like, it's grabbing, but I don't think it's your ACL. Maybe you should get an MRI. I'm like, okay. So I went and got an MRI, and they're like, yep, completely snapped. So at that moment, I'm like, I didn't even give a shit about jiu-jitsu. I hadn't even thought about jiu-jitsu in a long time. And I was like, fuck, I was really enjoying football and stuff. And I'm like, well, there's nothing I can do. It's happened. I need to put my focus in something else. I always have to be building or doing something, like otherwise I go insane. And I thought, what have I always wanted to do? I mean, I loved acting. I've always wanted to be an actor. Why not try it? Why not go for it? And then I told my little brother, who was in film school at the time, and he got me a meeting with a manager, and we got along really well. And then, like a month later, he got me a role in I went to acting class under a friend, Andy McPhee, whose son Cody McPhee is doing unbelievably well in film right now. And Andy McPhee's been in a lot of films. You would have seen him if you look him up. And he was coaching me, and it was really good. And I got a speaking role in a series called Jack Irish, starring Guy Pearce.
I know the series, yeah.
Yeah. So I was in there for a little. It's only a little role, but
that's
great.
That's sick.
And then I got a feature, a lead in a $32 million feature film shooting in Belgium. So I went over and I did that. It was amazing, the most fun I've ever had. And then I came back. I used that money to reconstruct my knee. Then I moved to America, and I knew that I knew that I was going to have to try and make money because it's probably going to be a 10-year journey to really break it into filmmaking and acting and stuff like that. So I thought, well, I need to kind of create some kind of program online to help people. That way I can monetize my knowledge in jiu-jitsu. And I remember I went to a friend's place, and he was like super, I think you call it straight edge, where you don't drink, don't do anything. And he started experimenting with drugs. He's like, Kit, you got to see this. So he takes me in his garage. He's got mats in his garage. He's got smoke machines, and he's got lasers in there. And he puts music on and starts smoking the room out and putting lasers like, let's roll. What the fuck is going on here? Anyway, I rolled him. And I was passing his guard with ease, and I was like, damn, I really miss this. It's actually a lot of fun. And then I came back to, I thought I'm going to go train with Lachlan Giles. And I had left my school to Lachlan Giles a few years ago, and Craig Jones had just moved over, and I knew of Craig Jones before that. He was always like a couple divisions behind me, and people were always talking about him, and I just wanted to punch him in the face because I don't like them talking about anyone except for me. And he was there, and he was really good, and I was like, damn, this kid's like really good. And he was young at the time, and it motivated me. I'm like, I want to beat this kid up. And I'll beat Lachlan up as well, because Lachlan's a lot better now. So it kind of revigorated my jiu-jitsu, and I started getting back into it. And then I created a lot of programs online, and then I started monetizing that. And so I ended up getting back into jiu-jitsu, but more as a hobbyist and more just to beat Craig. And and then I created the programs online, and Craig and Lachlan both blew up in that time and have done unbelievable. And I moved to America. It took me about a year to get an O1, and the acting was still the main priority. I got my O1, and then I had to become part of the union. Otherwise, you can't work on a union job. And to get part of the union, it's a motherfucker. You have to work on 3 union films to become part of the union, or to be eligible to become part of the union. But to work on union films, you have to be part of the union. So it's like such a fuck around. So you basically have to know someone that gets you on as a low-level rigging or something like that, and upgrades you. Oh, we needed someone that looks exactly like you to do these lines. So we're going to give you what they call a Taft-Hartley, and we put you in that position because no one else was there on the day, and then suddenly you become eligible for SAG. So I had to do that. As soon as I become eligible for SAG, fucking COVID hit. And I'm like, oh my God. So COVID hits, and I'm like, well, I don't know how long this is going to happen for. So I bought a computer, and I started gaming. And I started gaming a lot. Like, I mean, I'm gaming 10 to 14 hours a day, streaming every day, playing like Apex, Call of Duty, and I'm loving it.
So sick. And carving up.
Yeah, and
carving up.
I started doing well. I've got a natural knack for that. I was loving it. The problem was like, is this really what I want to be doing? Like sitting down all day? And I love that, but it doesn't have a long, an end game that I really want to be doing. I mean, I'm going to get older. It's going to get harder. I mean, gaming, look, I think you can do it for a while, but I mean, you're competing with the best people in the world. You need really good reflexes. And I just thought, I just don't know if this is the lifestyle I want to be living. So I thought, I want to get back into acting and do that. So I decided once we come out of COVID, back into acting, and I just noticed that like I was getting quarter of the auditions I used to get, and they were for really shitty roles. And I thought, I'm more likely to get hit by a car, while I'm in a boat than actually make a career out of acting at this stage. So I thought, I'm going to have to, if I want this, which I do, I'm going to have to do it myself. Yeah. And that means I'm going to have to learn how to write and learn how to make movies. And in my head, it's like, well, I grew up watching movies. I understand movies. I love movies. It shouldn't be too hard, but I have no fucking idea how to spell. My grammar is atrocious. So I'm just going to try it. Let's go. And I started writing, and I was terrible. I didn't put any commas in my writing. Every single period was an exclamation mark, or what we call a full stop here, I think was an exclamation mark. Everything was uppercase letters because I just didn't know the difference between upper or lower, what you do. And I started writing, and people started helping me, like, okay, this is spelled wrong, you do it this way. And but they're like, but the story's actually pretty good. You've got like a natural knack for this kind of stuff. So I just worked on it, and that was just over 2 years ago. And I just made a deal with myself, no games, no nothing. I'm going to work as hard as I can to make this happen. And I've never worked this hard in my life on anything than what I am on filmmaking. Jiu-Jitsu, I didn't even put near this amount of effort in compared to for writing. And 2 years later, now I'm here, and I had my first meeting last night with some Australian producers, which was very promising, about one of my scripts, getting that made. And I'm just loving this new journey of, still teaching, coaching jiu-jitsu, still training once to twice to 3 times a week, while exploring this new realm of filmmaking, which for me has been a really tough journey, because I this is no lie, I spend 10 to 14 hours on most days writing. It doesn't mean I'm writing the whole time. I'll be at my computer. I'll be thinking about stuff as well. Sometimes it might be a whole day and I write one sentence, okay? But you're still writing. You're still thinking of things and problem solving your way through things. And I'll have Twitch open while I'm doing it and watch some of my favorite, Twitch streamers and gamers or friends of mine that are gaming while I'm doing it. But either way, I'm there, and I get invited to friends' parties, and it's very hard for me to go. If I do ever go, I'll go with my laptop. I'll bring my iPad with my script. I look like a douchebag. I get that. But it's more important that I make it in this than what it is, not looking like a douchebag. So I'll be there with my iPad. People go, "What are you doing? You write a script?" People, "Oh, well, cool." It's like, they gotta look at, and I get that, and I know that I look like an idiot doing it, but
who cares?
ultimately it doesn't matter. Yeah,
exactly, man. I actually share the same passion for film. I've been doing it since I was like 12 years old. I started editing, and I've been I'd say my biggest thing would probably just be working on some film sets and stuff like that. But I've always had that like feeling as though I do funny videos, but I've always wanted to act. But man, this is like, it's funny how your inner dialogue tells you, like, because I've got tattoos, I was like, fuck, how can I get a role with tattoos? Like, how does that work for you? Like, do you, you got that one big role in, was it Belgium, was it? Or
Yeah.
Did
2 hours a day of makeup.
Wow.
Every day.
Man, and they're just sweet with that.
Yeah. Look, I mean, when they've got the money, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
The lower budgets are going to be a little bit more difficult, but now it's so much easier to cover tattoos and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Plus, tattoos are so much easier to just let them go now. They don't really care too much. 5-10 years ago, there was a little bit more concern, like, oh, you got a tattooed hand. Oh, you can't, you're not going to make an actor. All the big actors got tattoos all over them now. It doesn't matter. People don't give a shit anymore. They see a tattoo, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean, 20, 30 years ago, you got tattoos, it's because, you did time and you're a real bad person. Okay, it doesn't mean anything now.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, the world's changed, eh?
Was that with the dude from Blade, man? I swear I saw you in a movie with the guy from Blade.
Oh, yeah, Udo Kier.
Yeah, him. He's the man.
Dude, he's awesome.
Yeah.
I met him. His one is always, you're not even a pure blood.
Yeah, that
and
guy.
He's got the most piercing blue eyes. He's a scary looking dude. And I remember the first day I met him, he was coming out of an elevator. I just shit myself, and I just kept walking past. He's like, "Hello, Mr. Dale," and he's like, he grabs my hand. He's like, "Hello, my name is Udo Kier. It's nice to meet you." He's super, super gay. The nicest guy.
Never
I
would've
love
picked
him.
it.
No,
Yeah.
I wouldn't. And he's the most flamboyantly gay person I've ever met. So we're going. He took me under his wing so well, and he helped me. He would come to set the days that he wasn't even on, and just to watch me and help me and give me tips. Yeah, he was amazing.
That's
so
sick.
Man, he's in
every
some
day.
new game, I think. He's like the face of this new, almost like Silent Hill scary game that they're running soon. Yeah, I just saw it 2 days ago.
He used to be in Command and Conquer, one of the games as well.
Yeah,
Yuri's Revenge.
Yeah, man, he's been in so much stuff. But it's like one of those guys, you always forget his name, but you know him,
Yeah.
He's always like that sort of villain sort of style.
I always tell people like Udo Kier, and they're like, and I show them like, oh,
Yeah,
that
everyone
guy.
knows
So
the
if you
same.
are watching, Google Udo Kier, UDO Kier.
Yeah, he's been in so many movies.
Fuck,
When you write, do you reverse engineer it, or is it very much like you said you didn't know where to start? So when you write, do you start from the start, or is it sort of like all different things and then it comes into one? Because sometimes I wonder how those really deep, Shawshank Redemption style shit, where do they begin on that?
It's a complicated answer, but first off, I don't write like most people write. I write very unconventionally, and most people when they write, they come up with an idea and they're like, okay, this is the idea I'm playing with. Who's the lead? They come up with the lead. They know everything about the lead, and then they create I forget, my God, what it's called. It's like a structure of the film. I forget what it's called. Do you know what I'm talking about? An outline.
Yeah, not really. I don't know much about writing.
Okay.
Yeah.
They create an outline, and it's basically they'll write down every single scene, you know, and there might be 54 scenes in the film or something like that, and they write down every single scene. They have the arc. They tell you basically roughly what's going to happen. So they know roughly they've created a skeleton story of what's going to happen. They know where it goes. They know how it ends. They just need to add the dialogue and all the, you know, all the meaty stuff. For me, I don't work like that. I find that, one, unbelievably boring, two, unorganic, and two, structured. I come up with an idea and I'll think like, okay, what's my idea? And I'm like, okay, this person stumbles upon a house that appears in the middle of the night that's never been there before. There was no house and suddenly there's a house and they can't get in. And this house changes every single day into a different house. And I imagine, what would a house look like if it came from 1,000 years in the future and went back in time? And then I would just play with that idea. Okay, what would it look like? What could it do? What kind of technology would it have? And then I imagine, okay, well, where am I going to start? I'm going to start with the people that, you know, someone's waking up in the morning and he's eating some food and he walks out the house and he sees another house right next to him and he's like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? And then like, and something happens. It's like, that's where I'll start. And then I'll be like, then I'll introduce another character who's going to be the lead. And some guy, and I would think about, you know, where is he? Okay, he's ripping someone off, or he's getting arrested doing something, and then he goes into a jail, and instead of going to a normal jail, he gets taken to a different area, and he doesn't know what's going on, and these are special operative police or something like that, and then they start briefing him on what they want to talk to him about. He thinks he's getting in trouble because he's breaking into all these banks, like high-level banks. They're like, no, we want you to break into something for us. And he's like, what is it? It's like a house. He's like, what? You know, this house, you know, over here, like, okay, what, you know, disappeared out of nowhere. And they're like, and so that's how I kind of go, and I just see I don't know where it's going. I just sort of play it out, and I just keep writing. And the thing is, every single word inspires a new sentence, which inspires a new sentence. And I just start writing, and I just add things. Sometimes I'll add things as foreshadowing that never even eventuate, but I just see if I can get to myself to the end of the story. And then if I can get to myself to the end of the story, and it seems like a plot that's worth working on, then I come back in and I start decorating the shit out of it. I come back, I start correcting the characters, I add more characters, I see where it is, what's wrong, I fix the structure, and there's a lot more work to writing like that because you're going to end up doing a lot more drafts than what you would if you wrote an outline. But for me, it's a lot more fun. Plus, the important thing with developing in anything is correcting mistakes and like as I was saying last night, I think mastery is around 10,000 mistakes away, you know, correcting 10,000 mistakes away. And if you are writing an outline and you're trying to get everything perfect at the start, what you're essentially doing is limiting your amount of mistakes that you can make, which means you're limiting the amount you can learn from it. Where I'm coming in there and I'm just hitting the ground running, writing everything. I'm going to make a lot more mistakes. I'm going to have a lot more work. But in there, I'm going to give myself the opportunity to correct a lot more mistakes and fix a lot and learn a lot more. So by the time that story comes to completion, it may have taken me 5 times more longer, but what it's done is it's allowed me to learn 5 times more. So by the time I finish that story, I'm going to be in a far better place than if I was to outline that story. And then I go into my next one. And for me, it's just I come up with an idea and a concept that I like, that I think is fun, and then I start writing about it.
That's cool, eh?
Do you generally focus on like, that's a cool, I want to know why that house is there now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So do I. I don't know. I got to figure it out.
So do you love the ones with like a bit of a twist or like just so uniquely edgy, like fuck, what's going on with that, you know? Instead of
I love those type of movies.
Yeah, same.
I want a movie that I like to watch a movie that I'm constantly trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I want there to be a twist in the end that I don't see coming, but leaves me satisfied. And that's a really hard thing to do. So with all of my scripts, I'm always going to try and have the audience intrigued to what the fuck is going on. And where are we going with this? And then just keep hitting them with different spins that make sense and that are satisfying. Not spins that you're just like out of nowhere and you're just like, what the fuck is that shit? That makes no sense at all. That's not even cool. So I like to start my movie with something where it seems like I'm leading you here to this is what we're watching. This is the kind of movie, and then switch it on your head. And then you're like, oh shit. Okay. All right. What the fuck was that? I need to watch more of this. Okay, let's go. and get them invested straight away. And then you need to hit them with a lead character that they're going to be interested in and invested in and attached to. So you have to make a lead character preferably likable, but at least relatable. And I think that's where most people fail with writing and stories is they make an unlikable character or they make an unrelatable character. They'll make a character either too good and too virtuous and righteous and they're boring as hell, and we're just none of us are like that. We've all got good, we've all got evil in us, and we want to see a little bit of that. And I like to create a character that comes off as bad or as an arsehole, but then it's justified, and you see why he's like that. He might be a hardened, callous man, and you don't know why is he so fucking rough with these people, and then you get a glimpse as to why, and you're like, okay, I get that. And Marvel did that really well with one character, which was Thanos, where he made a really bad character, but his actions were justified.
Everyone loved him too.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah.
And then you look at half the other bad guys and you're like, these guys are trash. These guys are all the good guys. These guys are so boring. And, that's always the problem with a lot of Superman is because he's not a really fun character compared to Batman. Batman's a badass dude, And
it's so true, eh? Superman's kind of like a bit of a nerd.
Yeah. He's such a righteous guy. Like none of us are like that. It's unrelatable. So you kind of have to. He's a tricky one to get right, and they just never seem to get him right. They're always changing. I think Henry Cavill did a good job. Don't get me wrong, but it's a very tough character to get right. Where I prefer characters that are characters like in Breaking Bad with Walter White.
Yeah.
Where one, they have a huge arc, and two, they are both good and evil. And they're always battling like that thing to not go too far one way. And they're always keeping you guessing. And he was a really good character on that because one, he was a genius and he was a very nice guy, but he was getting walked over because he's a nice guy, and he's struggling with he's dying now, and we get to see that transition of him having to become a bad guy to survive and to thrive, and it's fun, and you kind of back that. You're like, I want him to be the bad guy, I want him to that, and then he'll go too far, and you're like, hey, okay, pull back a little bit. Like, what are you poisoning kids for, you asshole? Just a little poison, make him sick, but don't kill him.
Have you seen Mr. In Between?
Yeah, I have. I had a meeting with the lead of that.
Did you?
Yeah,
because he writes it, I believe.
Yeah,
right?
he wrote it.
Yeah,
fuck, he's good, eh?
He's very good, very good.
Man, and that's just exactly what you're talking about, eh? It's like a guy that you can relate to. He's got these morals, but he caps people on the side, but he's still got these morals.
Exactly.
Or like Fargo. We're currently going through Fargo right now.
Man. What's your favorite top 3 kind of shows?
Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
Game of Thrones.
Yeah, same.
They're literally the top 3 on IMDb, I think.
That's all I'm covering. I'm actually watching Game of Thrones for the 4th time right now.
I just finished it.
We just did it again.
Yeah, so good.
It's
fucking
good,
eh?
It's so rich of information. It's one of those that every time you watch, you see something you didn't see.
Yeah.
Which is great. Those are my 2 top series. I can't think of a third right now. I'm sure it is.
Eastbound and Down. Have you seen Eastbound and Down?
Yeah, it's really funny. Yeah.
It's that shit.
I do like that.
Yeah, fuck. That's the Game of Thrones for me the other night. Yeah, it's like I'm watching it again. I'm like, man, this is better than because I'm showing my roommate. She hadn't seen it, so I got excited. I was like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna watch the whole thing again. And it's there's so much dialogue in it that I'm like, you could just caption that and put it on a fucking Instagram thing, and it's like there is so much wisdom in that little statement there, and you're like, who did this? Like, it's an absolute masterpiece, and I get blown away by these like real. Anyone that's really professional in what they're doing, that you can start to notice the finer details. And even how like Jake told me like sound is such a big part of it, and I never realized that being the typical viewer. Like, but even just like say when we film a content video here, the difference between having a mic and not having a mic is like a swipe. It's like it's so much punch in the sound. And even a video you did, I remember years ago, just adding footstep sounds into like when you're in the forest somewhere. I was like, fuck, it immerses you and does it feel, and you have these finer little details that like professionals figure out, but that's the difference. That's what makes it a professional,
Yeah, fuck, it's wild.
It sways the story so much, and it's really important for the actor to be on the same page as the director, knowing what kind of sounds you're going to add, what kind of score you're going to add, what they're doing with the camera, because you can have a moment where, and let's say I'm the lead actor, and I can have a moment where I'm watching something, and I'm just watching it like this. and I'm not giving it anything, right? But then you add a push in, and you add music to it, and maybe you do a black and white, and everything change. Everything I just did comes to life in a certain way, depending on the style of music you have and what kind of score you have. So you need to know. So sometimes it's like you can't, if you overdo it and you make it dramatic and you're sitting there like this, and then they add everything, it's like it looks too pushed. You know, so a lot of times, like, you need to know, and the director should know, like, tell you, like, look, we're going to add this, we're going to do this with the camera, so just keep it small.
Don't overact.
And don't overact. And we're going to be close on you too, so we'll see everything, you know, compared to when we're far back. You know, if we're really far back and it's not a close-up, you know, you have to give a little bit more because they can't see you as well, you know. So if you're angry, you got to really show it, you know. But when it comes to a close-up, it's like it has to just be with the eyes, and it's got to be subtle and very small, and that's really hard to do.
Yeah. To look good at acting, it's like you shouldn't be acting. It's like
you shouldn't. Yeah, that's the trick. Is like it shouldn't be acting. It should be, you know, just organic reactions with pre-rehearsed lines.
Shows like how you're saying there's people that break the rules, like Tarantino, where there's just not a cut for ages, and it's just one, and somehow you're immersed in it because the writing's so good.
Dude, the intro to The Hateful Eight, like, it's a long intro, but I love that. It's just he just holds that one walking scene the whole time. It just sets with the music, and it just sets it.
Yeah, fuck. So with you, segueing to jiu-jitsu again, but I guess what we want to know, and as we sort of know because it's conceptual, but other people want to know, is like, you were the first person besides, I only heard about you and BJ Penn that got your black belt that quickly. And then I guess that's why everyone's eyes went on you, because, like, how does someone get a black belt that quickly? And did you cop any flack for that, especially back then in the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu community of, oh no, like, he didn't do his time, you know what I mean? But you've got the skill set. It's crazy. But did you ever cop it for that?
Yeah, I copped for everything. People would be like, you know, the belt is not about skill. It's also about, you know, like, respect and dignity. And you can't get that in 4 years. Like, who the fuck are you to tell me how to be as a person? You're just a jiu-jitsu dude.
Yeah.
Like, you think you're fucking some kind of guru now? No, you're not. Yeah. And most jiu-jitsu dudes are just jiu-jitsu dudes, especially the better ones, because they have no time to do anything else in their life or to improve in any other facet. So they're really boring individuals that have no kind of experience outside of jiu-jitsu. Not all of them, but a lot of them are. So who the fuck are they to tell me how to live my life? One. Two, people would say, yeah, no, you need, you know, it's about time and all that. It's just, they're looking at any reason to justify the fact that they are learning a slow way compared to somebody else. And 100%. It's always a jealous thing. It's just, get over it. Like, I just tell it doesn't matter. It's not your fault that you learnt an inferior way, and it's not my fault that I learnt a superior way. It just happens. We just randomly, by luck of a lot of different things, ended up in certain, you know, directions, and that's the cards we dealt with. But let's know, now we know the information, we have it all available. Let's move on. Let's help each other. Okay, I want to help you guys. I want to help you guys learn faster. It's not about me getting my black belt in 4 years. I'm better than you. It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean anything. It's just about, okay, what can I offer you guys? What was the reason why I was able to progress so fast in this and in other, you know, sports and arts and other industries? And let me help you with, you know, I want to help you, but they just sort of stand their ground, and it's like, no, I'm going to do it the traditional way, and this is the best, you know, way, and what you did is not the right way. It's just so dumb. It's just so much ego and stupidity involved. I got a million different things. One, the most common now is like, oh, Kit Dale didn't win a black belt world championship. I'm like, bro, I did like 3 black belt world championships in my life. I did one when I was actually fit, and the next 2 I did just on the whim with no preparation, and I lost to Josh Hinger in a match that I should have won against Josh Hinger, and he won the whole thing. The next 2 matches would have been easy matchups for me. I could have won that thing without having any preparation, with a spider bite on my bloody hand that was like opened up. I couldn't train for 2 weeks at all before that. I was on anti-venom, you know, stuff. But the thing is, it's like, if I had let's say when I got my black belt in 2013 to now, which is nearly 11 years. If I had kept competing and kept training, there's no doubt in my mind I would have won multiple world championships. And there's no doubt in my mind I would be 100 times better than what I am right now, and better than most people in the sport, just because of the way that I learn things is far better than the way most people learn things. And if most people learned things the way I learned things, I wouldn't be here right now talking to you guys, because I would be a nobody and everyone would learn very fast. So I'm very lucky in that sense. But that whole thing of like, you know, haven't win a black belt, it's like, what? Of course I haven't. I don't even compete. I barely ever competed, and even when I did, like, it was 3 times, and I got very close to, you know, all those, and I was there with those guys. It's just, you know, if you do 10 of those, you're going to get lucky. Yeah, and that's what most people do. It's like, this guy won a black belt world championship. He also competed in 15 before he won 1. but he was consistent and persistent, and that's why it pays off for him, and that's great for him. I just didn't have that interest. I really like jiu-jitsu, and competing has its place. It's just not that fun for me, and it's not worth the sacrifices you have to make for your body to do it. I mean, look what most people are doing. Most people are training so many times a day. They're doing a lot of steroids, a lot of drugs. They're cheating in certain organizations, and other organizations say it's fine, whatever it is for them. I'm not willing to do the same thing to my body. Okay, I know that I'm going to be around. Well, I presume I'm going to be around here a lot longer. I've already done enough damage to my body. I don't want to do any more. If I start training more than 3 times a week right now, and I'm nearly 38. It just catches up on me really quickly. Plus, I've got too many unintended injuries, and I'm hoping you guys can give me some good advice for that kind of stuff.
Sure.
So it just wasn't for me, and I had goals. And the more important thing for me is always like to have a goal that I can keep reaching. As soon as I finish a game, I don't want to play it anymore. And even if I'm close to the end and I don't feel like the effort is worth the reward in the end, I will just stop doing it. And that was where I kind of got with jiu-jitsu. And for me, like filmmaking is like there is no end to filmmaking. Plus, I can do it until I die, and that's really important for me. I can do jiu-jitsu for a long time. Don't get me wrong, but I can't do it professionally for a long time. I for sure could do it and enter masters and seniors. I've never done one of those tournaments. I always like to go in adult and stuff, but it's nothing wrong with going in it. But it's just nothing that really interests me that much. I probably still will do it, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't interest me that much. But I can't keep training jiu-jitsu until I'm 99 properly. I could do it, but it wouldn't be a great version of it. It would not be something you guys want to watch. Where filmmaking is more of an intellectual adventure that you can continuously grow until, I develop Alzheimer's or something.
Have you watched the round table? Those, yeah, that's pretty cool, man. You get them all together, and they're so passionate still, like the Scaraces and Mel Gibson and that talking about it. Like it's just seeing these true masters, and they love it, and they just feed off each other and saying, "I remember this film and this film," and they all learn it. It's such a cool thing.
I'd say that would be a big part of why Corrective Culture we started. It was like I loved filming, and Callan was good in front of the camera, and we were just kind of like having fun with it. It was just like, and I was doing I was like the head videographer for tourism, so I was up in Harvey Bay all the time doing stuff like that, and I had a good camera and shit, and I was like, we'll just fucking ride on the coattail of that.
And it's such a similar story to yours, because Jake was professional bodyboarder, right? And one of the best in the world.
Boogie boarder, yeah.
Yeah, that's sick.
Like when we were in Bali,
I want to do that.
when we were in Bali, there was a kid riding your board, like stone boards and stuff. And remember that dude from Hawaii? I was like, "Oh, you Jake Stone?" Like,
yeah.
Like a celebrity in Chile, and he doesn't even bodyboard. He fucking hates it. When was the last time you were on a bodyboard?
Yeah, like a year ago or something like that.
Yeah.
But I really, like, I'm sitting here, I'm listening to you talk, I'm like, fuck, I get it. You know what I mean? Like, it just, I think the best I got was like 3rd or 4th in the world. And I won a couple Australian titles and stuff like that, but I was like, my heart was just like, fuck this, I'm over it. I want to try other shit. So that's why I got into film. And I was just like, and I was literally like, I didn't know how I was going to get into film. I was like, all right, I'm just going to start with real estate filming. So I did that, started getting paid well for that. I was like, fuck, this is pretty easy. I'll try and get on film sets or something like that. And man, it's crazy once you put your energy into it, the things that align to help you.
Yeah.
And then I got a massive job with Tourism Australia, and that helped pay for this whole place. And I was just like, fuck, it's crazy. And now I'm doing this, but I'm just like, it's just crazy.
It's like the universe is being done to you a little bit, but you got to know what you want.
Yeah.
You
and be very specific. And I think,
and take action like you
really
are.
work. Yeah. That was the one thing, like I learned about manifesting years ago, and the one thing I've added to that is just the work behind that now.
100%.
Like I want to manifest it, but I want to build that fucking thing as well. Yeah. And if you build it, they will come. So for me, it's like, it's not a matter of if, it's always a matter of when, because I'm going to keep getting so damn good that people cannot ignore me. I'll get so good at writing that people have to, even if they hate me, they hate me so much and hate everything I represent. They're like, I just need to make these movies. These movies are that damn good. That's what my goal is to get with everything in that.
Yeah.
It's like, then you have no choice. It's going to happen. But it's very hard to predict how it will happen, because as you know, there's so many things behind the scene that have to happen. And so much of it is who you know. And it's really hard to break it into that next part, because, as I was explaining earlier before the podcast, I send my script to somebody and they say, who's this from? And they say, Kit Dale. And it's like, who the fuck is Kit Dale? All right. Oh, he's a jiu-jitsu guy. Cool. See you later. I'm not reading that. Waste my time. That's the way they're going to look at it. And 99% of the time, they're going to be right. It's going to be someone that just thinks they can write, sending something in, thinks their movie's amazing. But that's not me. I work with really good writer. Like my writing mentor, his name's Sheldon Turner. He's an Oscar-nominated writer. He's a Golden Globe winning writer. He wrote The Longest Yard, X-Men First Class, Straight Outta Compton.
Sick.
A bunch of others, Up in the Air. And he's been great. I met him like a year ago, maybe a little bit more than a year ago. And it was through a friend of mine, Rob, who's also in the film industry. And he's like, hey, kid, I want you to meet this guy because he really wants to get into jiu-jitsu. And I would not normally meet anyone that's interested in getting into jiu-jitsu. It's a waste of my time. I don't know why I even met him. I can't even tell you why. But for some reason, I said, okay, I'll come along. And I came along and I met him. And he's a really good guy, and we're talking. And then he tells me at the end, like, I really want to learn off you, and I want you to train me 3 times a week. And in my head, I'm like, no fucking way. Okay, you live in like Beverly Hills area. I live in the shitty area of Hollywood. This is too far.
Yeah.
But as I was going through his house, it's a beautiful house, like 5-story house, an apartment there, and I'm looking at all these movies on the wall. I'm like, damn, I love these movies. This is great, and it's a really nice house, and he's a really cool guy. And then I leave, and Rob's like, he's a really good writer, right? I'm like, oh, really? Like, how good? He's like one of the best in the world.
Wow.
And he's like literally one of the top like best in the world.
Fuck.
And then so I spoke to him and I said, listen, I'm not really interested in teaching privates for anyone jiu-jitsu for money right now, but I'm really into writing. And if you're interested in doing an exchange for helping me with my writing and I'll help you with your jiu-jitsu, and he's like, let's fucking go. Man. And it was the best decision. Like, he's one of my best friends now. We talk 24/7. If I look at my phone right now, I bet you there's a message from him. And there is. And it's something aggressive. He's just saying something really rude right now. But we're best mates now. And
Sick.
It's great. Like, I help him almost every day. We're working up. We Zoom every day. We'll break down some jiu-jitsu. And he reads my scripts and he gives me like really good notes. And we are really honest with each other, and there's no bullshitting. So the notes he gives me are super aggressive. Like, I'll read it and like, fucking lazy. This is shit. Read out loud. Absolute joke. Get rid of it. It's just straightforward. There's no bullshitting. Yeah. We both know we want to get better, and the best way to get better is by correcting mistakes. And sometimes it's hard to see your own mistakes. So if someone else can point them out and give you the opportunity to fix them, that's what you need. And to have someone like him that's also a producer that's been in the industry for 20 years, he's talking to all the top actors, top everything. It's been so fantastic for me. And on the other hand, he loves jiu-jitsu, and his jiu-jitsu is improving so fast. Yeah. And
man, imagine how good he's getting for it. Like,
so it's been good. It's been really good.
Wow, the universe sorted
is
out
crazy.
There. That's I would say that's like a result of your energy and your manifestation and hard work. Like, I know I said at the start it was manifestation, but you don't just sit there and manifest. Like, you need to go out and chase it, and every time of day you need to be pushing towards that.
Well, it was like that Neville Goddard video you sent me. This is old school manifesto dude from like the 60s, and he goes, you still got to imagine it and see it, but people will see the path, and you'll see A, B, C, and you'll still see that, but it's still the same thing, because that stemmed from you saying yes. So that wasn't even like a hard work thing. That was just an opportunity creation thing. And that's what we were talking about the other day. There's so many things that you never know what creates the opportunity. But if you do the same shit every day, the same thing's going to happen every day. So like someone from the States could listen to this podcast, could be this tiny little thing, or like our whole life changed because I asked a girl to come on a podcast who's like a holistic health lady. And then she said, I love you guys' stuff. Like, afterwards, I can make your products for you. I have a product making company. I can post and pack. We source. So we didn't even work hard for that, man. That was pure luck from just talking to a woman. Yeah. And I wonder how many times that happens, like talking to the person at a cafe. I got a roommate who has a digital marketing agency. She walks up to people with good cars at cafes and starts talking to them and gets work. Wow. Like, just from communication. She didn't do none of that shit. You know what I mean? So there's so much of it is being likable and being relatable and just being somewhat charismatic. And it's more than going to uni and getting a degree in writing and shit. Because if you're passionate, you're going to fucking keep going at it. And that's so cool hearing that, how crazy that is, and how that will definitely segue into something huge for you one day. Like, thank you. That's the path.
It's fun. It's funny you said, like, I never learned any, like, I never did any classes for writing. I never even read. I read one book in my life, one novel in my life, Stephen King's It.
Oh, I watched it the other night, dude. I love that movie.
And the book is fucking phenomenal.
Really?
I read it twice.
Okay,
So
wow.
I've read one book twice.
Yeah.
I did read other books, but they were self-help. But you don't need to do like the traditional style of learning, and it's such a lot of it's such a money-making scheme of like, come and do these classes and come and do this. And same with like a lot of way jiu-jitsu is taught. It's the same sort of thing. It's like, I'm giving you the lesson before you even get an opportunity to learn yourself. Like, I'm robbing you of the ability to figure things out. And it's the same with writing. If I went to a class, I would definitely have approached it very different. They would tell me, you have to do an outline, you have to do this, and you have to do this, and you have to learn these techniques and these fundamental things. It's like, it's all bullshit. All of it's bullshit.
Same with film school, hey?
Exactly.
So I know heaps of people that went to film school and they're just struggling to get work, and it's just like,
Yeah.
it's
They all
just
come
go
out as
get
robots.
it. Yeah, 100%. Like, I like to be creative. I like to know the camera back to front. I like all that stuff. Like,
Yeah.
you can do it. And
Yeah, you got your own touch. I can tell when you've made a video compared to when Harry's made a video and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it's like a signature on it, you know?
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
same with writing. You have to have your own voice.
Yeah.
With anything you're
Tarantino.
creating, even like jiu-jitsu, I should be able to see a clone of me doing jiu-jitsu and know that's me doing jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And know it's other people. But so many people are just carbon copies of something else or a formula of something else. And and I'm not saying there isn't a place for schooling and stuff like that. There for sure is, and for some people it's going to be good. And for certain industries, you want that. You don't want to go in a surgery. And someone's like, I just learned from experience.
Yeah.
Okay, this is weird. But so much of it is just going out there and making those mistakes and learning from it. My brother got into he did film school, and it wasn't really the film. I don't think it was really the film school where he learned. It was like he was directing music videos for a long time, and then started doing short films. And then one of his short films led to him getting the opportunity to do a feature film. And then he directed a feature film called Till Death, starring Megan Fox. And he's just done a second movie starring Megan Fox as well. But he just went out there and he just did it. He just worked really hard. I remember seeing him. He looked like a loser. He was fucking wearing like brighter than that blue shoes and weird stuff that just didn't match. He had like long hair, hiding the fact that he was balding. He little weird little dude, but like he worked really hard, and now he's doing very well with that kind of stuff. And I think the lesson to learn in all this is just fail running. Fail running. Just go and try and do it. I learned snowboarding. I spent like a day or two snowboarding, and I felt like I was at the place where most people take a month. And it was only because I crashed about 400 times. And I try to learn from every single one of those because I don't want to crash again. I don't like it, but I was pushing myself. Where most people will never allow themselves to crash that many times. They're going to be like, crash once and then take it really slow and not let it happen again. There was a guy that was snowboarding behind me, and he was trying to catch up to me to tell me, like, Kit, you look like a pro. Obviously, I didn't look like a pro, but he was trying to give me a compliment. And just as he got close to me, I caught toe edge and just went flying. And I scorpioned and stuff. And he's just like, oh, no. He goes, but you just jump back up and just keep going. And at the time, like, it scared me, it hurt, and I just didn't want to stop. I just keep going because otherwise I'll get scared and I'll be like worried about it. So just keep moving. You're going to have to fall. You're going to have to crash, and you're going to have to learn. And I got good at like most things by that. It's just I just have a confidence in me through my own experiences and my own endeavors that tells me, like, if I want to do anything, I can do it. But I also start doing it and then realize how much work is involved. And then I'm like, God damn, why did I even decide to do this? This is nuts. But I'm already there. Let's go. Let's keep moving.
Wow. When you, because this conceptual model of learning, I guess, is sort of inbuilt into you in some sense, but it wouldn't have been there at your classes, as in the classes you were attending. Well, I'm assuming it wasn't, right?
Well, I was kind of lucky. I attended a class where they had a lot of like freedom to do what we wanted. It was Peter Devine mostly that I would train under. And he would do like a couple techniques, and you would do it really quick, and then it would just be positional sparring and then free rolling. And that was most of the class. So it was great. It got to a point where I just would avoid the technique part of training. Like I would just be on my phone. He just didn't care. I was winning competitions. It's like, that's Kit, whatever. And I tried not to create a bad example for other people. But I would just either turn up late or just not do it. And if I had to do it, I would just look at what they're teaching, and I would try and do it different every single time. I would look at what is the reason why this technique works, and I'm going to try and change how to do it. So at least I could learn from that. But it was more because I had ADHD. I have a very small attention span. When someone tells me a story, I'm just like, hurry up, I've got to do something.
Yeah.
So I think it was by luck that I chose this path of learning and just trying to figure things out myself. And it was through that I was excelling way faster than anyone else. And even me, I'm like, I don't understand this. This doesn't make any sense. All my other friends are drilling like an hour extra class than what I'm doing, and I'm missing a lot of the class. I'm not even training that much. I'm training like 5 times a week. Plus I'm working a regular job and I'm playing football at the same time. How am I excelling faster than these guys? And they're working twice as hard as me. And I'm going like 5 times faster than them. And then we started looking at, well, it's not so much me because I don't have the attention span for it. They started sending me like these case studies on learning and stuff. And I'm like, and everything they sent me just made sense. I'm like, I see why this is happening. Holy shit. I just got really lucky that I decided, I didn't decide. I just learnt this way. So I decided, I was training this way. And then from then on, it was like, how can I articulate that in a formula for people to adopt to get the same result? And that's been the journey ever since. And at first it was to teach more conceptually and to teach you concepts and ideas and get you to train with that. But it was too vague, and it was there was too many variables for people to learn very well that way. It's still a better version of learning than the copy and paste method of techniques, but it still could be improved. And then it was later on that I started realizing that games is the key to learning things. Because if I can get you, and I see the mistake you have and the problem you're having with in your jiu-jitsu, if I can create a game for you to experience that problem over and over again until you can solve it yourself, then I'm getting you to fix it through trial and error. That way you know exactly why you did this through your own experience and how you came to this conclusion, rather than me teaching you something. You discovering something weighs 10 times more than me telling you something. So for me, it's like and this is the hardest thing with coaching. The best coaches in the world say the least. The ones that do speak the most aren't the best coaches in the world. And it's really hard to understand. And the reason why is, as a coach, you really want to express how much knowledge you have. It's an ego thing. I want to tell you, and I've got a shit ton of knowledge, and I want to teach you and show you everything. But it's going to go through one ear and out the other, and it's going to confuse you more than help you. And it's really hard for me to shut my mouth when I see what you're doing wrong, and I know I can fix it in a heartbeat, but I also know that it's going to rob you of the ability to come up with that solution yourself. So what I try and do is I see a problem and I try and create a game that allows you the time to come back to that problem over and over again and to solve it. Because the problems aren't that complicated. It's quite simple. Jiu-Jitsu just seems far more complicated because we look at it as in the accumulation of techniques. And there's thousands of techniques. And you learn one technique, they learn a counter. Then you need to learn the counter to the counter. It just keeps going. And if you're practicing these techniques over and over and over, and you're trying to do your 10,000 reps for mastery of a technique, it's a long journey. And it's a journey of just accumulating techniques that are never going to help you. You're going to forget half of them. You're going to end up becoming a specialist in one area and just do your same thing on every single person, which is most of those people that do that. Where if you can play games in these areas and develop organically through trial and error and come up with your own solutions to these problems, you're going to come up with so much more information on why they work. And if you know why they work fundamentally, you can change how to do that. That way I can solve the same problem in, an infinite amount of ways because I understand it really well. And I can choose the solution that you're least going to expect. That way I'm not predictable, and it's very hard to counter me when you have no idea what I'm doing. And when I watch you doing the same things over and over again, because you've pre-rehearsed these techniques, it's very easy for me to predict what you're going to do. So there's a lot of guys that I beat that have spent way more time training than me, that know way more techniques than me, but they can't predict what I'm doing, and I know exactly what they're going to do most of the time. And it's a huge part of learning. So as a coach, the best coaches in the world are going to create an environment that allows you to solve the problems yourself. And to do that, I need to identify what level you're at, what you need, and I need to create games with as many constraints or variables as you need. If you're a beginner, I'm going to remove a lot of the variables. I'm going to add a lot of constraints. If you're advanced, I'm going to add a lot of variables and remove constraints. So I make it a lot more of a complicated, problem that's changing a lot, because you are at that level where you can do that. You can actively problem solve in multiple different areas. But as a beginner, let's simplify it. Let's play in the small little games, and you have very simple objectives with very simple constraints, with very simple variables. So you have this one game and just play that and let them play that and organically start solving these problems. And that's what I try and do now. So a lot of times students ask me questions, and it's not so much at seminars because I feel like I'm obligated to give them a little bit of something and we don't have a lot of time. But in my classes, it's like you ask me a question, you're like, how do I do this? I'm like, tell me.
Yeah, cool.
Let's try. Let's play this game, okay? And I see you having a problem with this. Okay, let's start in this position here, and this is what you're trying to do. And you just see how quickly people figure it out.
Yeah.
People figure things out, really. Everyone's very smart. And this is the thing that most coaches and students don't give themselves enough credit for, and they think they can't come up with the same solutions. They think by copying what you do, I'm going to bypass what everyone else had to do in figuring out these situations. And it just doesn't work like that in jiu-jitsu. Some other fields, it will work like that. Some of the fields, like you can be a cameraman and you don't need to understand why every single lens works and what, light or refraction, all that kind of stuff means. I don't even know if that word even means anything. But, you don't need to understand that to be able to point the camera. But with jiu-jitsu, it really helps understanding that, and most people just rob themselves of the chance to do that. And I get some people are not going to want to put the effort in. Some people don't have the goal to master things, and they want to come in and just wrestle people and do whatever they want. That's fine if that's your thing. Or if you're a traditionalist and you want to come in, you want to learn the exact techniques that Helio Gracie practiced and stuff, then that's for sure for you. But if you really want to master something, you really want to get good at something, and you want to learn things faster, and you want that to translate in all areas of life, then I think the game style trial and error action of problem solving is going to be by far the best solution for you.
Yeah. So would you say that game style, which is like positional sparring in some sense, but then it's basically positional sparring, but with intention of what's happening, isn't it?
Yeah. A lot of people say like, "Oh, games, it's positional sparring. We're doing this for ages." Like, yeah, you've been doing positional sparring, the most broad positional sparring.
Just doing your technique over and over.
Yeah. It's more complicated than that. It's like it's creating very intelligent games that are going to force the student to face a particular set of problems and allow them the chance to fix those. And you can use concepts to help them, guide them through that. But the important thing about giving them games first, rather than giving them the lesson first, is if I tell you how to do it, you no longer need to think about how to do it. The answer is there. Okay? But if I give you the problem and I give you time to work out, whether you work it out or not, by the time I give you the answer, it's going to mean a lot more, because you're like, okay, yeah, that's what it is. Fuck, I've been trying these different things, and I thought because of this, and now I see it's that, and it's so much stronger. But what's stronger than that is you just figuring it out. I mean, just giving you the time, and if it takes another 20 minutes, it takes another 20 minutes. But by the time you come up with that solution, you're going to understand exactly why you came up with it, and then you can go and teach it to people, because you get it. You're like, this is what happened. I was trying to do this and this and this. And the same thing with your podcast. If I asked you, how can I start a successful podcast? You'd be like, well, there's a lot. You know what I mean? Well, you need to buy mics. You need to buy this. You need to start learning how to speak and learning how to talk to people, learning how to ask questions. You need to be lucky in a lot of different senses and unlucky in a lot of different senses. And, it's just there's no one way about it. Yeah. It's all different. It's like, how do you go viral? How do you go viral?
Yeah.
No one really knows.
Nah.
You know what I mean? You can guess the certain like key pointers and that. But I mean, if it was so simple, everyone would be going viral. Yeah. You know what I mean? If it was so easy, everyone would be doing it. And people claim that they know how to do it, but a lot of time it's just by luck and by the order of certain people see you and what kind of exposure Instagram or Facebook or wherever you're on gives you. I get very little exposure on Instagram. I've been shadow banned for a long time. Wow. I talk too much on there. So I can't wait to make it in filmmaking so I can delete my Instagram now and start a new one that's not completely shadow banned. Yeah. And I just probably won't talk as much because I keep getting shadow banned.
Yeah. So for people listening, because we did the seminar last night, and man, for me personally, it's what it did is it inspired me to calm down a little bit and just train differently, because a lot of the time you don't even realize you're doing it, but you're training on autopilot, and just no one's giving you the awareness that you are doing that I'm thinking, oh fuck, like everything's so high, got to get under that, like Russian ties. Every time I'm Russian tie, my head's going nuts, like they're just going to frame up my head, what am I going to do here? And like I said, we could have done those Russian ties and drilled it over and over again, but we did it for, probably a good hour, and exactly that. The problem solving helps so much, and it's already given me so much confidence in, like, all I want to do now is try some Russian ties on
me
Saturday.
Too,
and how obvious some of it was. Like, and I didn't even figure it out. Luckily you said it, because we laughed about it with one of the boys after, where when they frame off your head, like, oh, what do you do? And you literally just fucking knock their arm up, and it works so well. And I was like, whoa, I never thought about that,
Yeah.
And now it's like, that's ingrained in my head so well. I feel like I'll never forget that. And now it just excites me to think, fuck, where else can I do that? Like when I asked you about the leg lock question at the end, it's like, all I want to do now is put myself in that position and just see what happens over and over and over and over again, because I keep getting false reap by these boys. But it's happening so fast that I'm not really realizing what I'm doing while they're spinning under me and shit. And it's just I'm really excited to train. It makes training funner, that's for sure. And I think that's what's going to keep people in it long term. And
it gives you the power.
Yeah.
You realize you're behind the wheel.
Yeah.
It's up to you. You're not relying on someone to give you techniques. Now, well, if I go out there, we go out there right now, and you put me in that position for 20 minutes, we keep starting there, you're going to get so much information from that, and you're going to be so much better. And if you just keep doing that in every single area of jiu-jitsu, you're going to improve rapidly, and you're going to understand jiu-jitsu better than most people will ever dream of understanding jiu-jitsu. And you basically you're taking ownership. You're now the boss of it. Which most people don't feel like that. Most people feel they come to class and it's about learning the right thing from the right coach. Coaches have very little to do with progression. And these are most of the best coaches in the world. People will get praised because this guy's got this guy and this guy, and these guys trained under them. Most of those guys came to these coaches already fucking amazing, and it wouldn't matter who it is. It didn't matter who coached me. I was going to be who I am. Sure, some might speed it up and slow it down a little bit, but ultimately I was going in that path, and I just need bodies to train with.
Yeah.
Okay. And the most important thing is getting good bodies to train with. So a lot of these schools where these coaches that are praised so much and these coaches that know so much have absolutely no weight in their knowledge. It just doesn't translate, and it's not important. And it's great that you have, every single technique in jiu-jitsu, but it just doesn't translate, doesn't teach like that, doesn't learn like that. And most of them are not growing homegrown good students. They've got guys that came to them that were already good, or guys that were going to be good no matter what. And this can work the other way. You can be an amazing coach and just have students that are spuds, that are just not worth, they're not going to put any thought into anything, and they're just like, tell me exactly how to do it. I don't want to think, and then you could be the greatest coach, but it's not going to help you. So coaches have very little to do with progression, far less than what most people think.
Yeah, for sure.
Who wins out of you and Craig Jones these days?
Craig.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Craig, yeah. So, with me and Craig, I would win the stand-up engages.
Yeah.
If I was fit, I think, personally, I think I out-position him, but he for sure out-submits me.
Yeah.
So if I was to predict, if me and him were the same weight and we were at the same fitness, I think I would beat him on points, but he would submit me, and he'd probably submit me before I beat him on points. But he is phenomenal, and it doesn't. I'm not taking. But I know where I'm at. I know that I'm a very, very good grappler, and I'm a very underrated grappler because I don't compete a lot of time. But you ask anyone that trains with me, and or anyone's ever competed with me, they'll tell you the same thing. But the problem is, a lot of time I'm training with them, and I'm very unfit. And I'm not training much.
Yeah.
And most of these guys are
you got bigger
professionals.
Dreams.
Yeah. I've other goals. But I train with him a lot, and it's great. He submits the shit out of me in positions that I feel like I'm usually safe with most people. And then he reminds me of how I'm not safe. And I learn a lot from him. He's always got some really crafty things.
Yeah.
And he is for sure, one of the, I think he's for sure one of the best grapplers. I know people say that, but I think he is at the top. I think the problem is one, I don't think he's near as interested as what most people are still progressing. I think he loves it, and he loves, what he's doing and stuff, but I don't think he's like, what most of these guys are just one-dimensional competitors. He has got a lot of other things going for him. He doesn't need to worry about that kind of stuff. If I was Craig Jones and I wanted to be the best in the world, I feel like he just needs to work a little bit on some wrestling, because most people that beat him are guys that can out-wrestle him and anti-jiu-jitsu him and not engage and just break away. If he could deal with those kind of things, I think he's, other than Gordon, I think he's the best in the world.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Do you remember in Perth, man, in 2014, it's a long time ago, but this is when I first met you. You wouldn't remember it. But you were over with Lockie, and you were doing a comp, like this local in-house weird comp.
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
Do you remember fucking breaking that dude's foot?
Yeah.
Like, man, I was I had front row seats to that. And this poor guy, it was in the semis, and I just heard this and then I got at his foot sideways, dude.
Oh, shit. What, footlock?
Yeah, I think it was just a straight footlock.
Straight ankle lock from X-Guard. He was, for single leg X, he was a Canadian dude, and I pulled guard on him, and he put his hand on my face and just started going boom, boom, and pushing my head into the ground. He's an MMA guy, and just like literally just head bouncing me. So then I come underneath him, I put him in an ankle lock, and I push him back, and I start putting it on. I feel this ding, ding, ding in his leg, and I slow down. I'm looking at him, and he's nothing. I go, okay, bang, snapped his fibula.
Yeah, it was a leg break.
Snapped his
It was.
Yeah.
Is that even possible?
I actually felt sick. I was like, oh fuck.
I remember he told me about that.
Yeah, this
years ago,
jiu-jitsu
yeah.
shit's no joke, man. I think that was like I started in 2016, so it was like a couple of years, but I was into it. You know what I mean? But fuck, it was cool.
Man, I didn't even know it was possible. I thought it was just ligaments. Go. I didn't know he could actually
Look at his arms, dude.
go into snap the fib. It's so funny.
Yeah, he and then he got. I said, I'm sorry, and he was acting like he didn't want to admit that he was fucked, and like he's like, nothing wrong. And then he was in an ambulance out the front.
Oh yeah, that's.
You could see his leg, dude. It was like the foot was like off to the side, and I was like, oh, that's not good.
Yeah, that's like
And then
surgery,
I
right?
had Lachlan in the final.
Yeah, and you beat him.
Yeah,
You were cruising, but
Yeah.
you were just cruising, but yeah, you beat him. It was sick.
How did that one finish? It's on the points.
I think you subbed him, eh?
Oh, did
yeah, I think so. I think I passed his guard. I think I took him down, passed his guard, and submitted him.
Yeah.
That was back then when I was training a lot more, and I definitely had his number back then. I had him and Craig's number back then, but they evolved a lot more since then and kept training, and I didn't train as much. So Lachlan is a lot better now, and Craig, of course, as well. But at that time, when I was training a lot more, it was very easy for me to predict what both of them would do, and that's it, really.
What I found interesting last night, man, when you were talking about when you roll with Gordon, how he doesn't explode.
Yeah,
and he was just calm,
very soft and relaxed.
Yeah, so that's really like that's only something recently. I think I watched his half guard thing like a year ago, and he spoke about that. He goes, "Oh, you just weigh on people," and now you watch him do it in comps every time. But that only in the last year I've started bringing that awareness to my game of like, okay, how little. And I've watched you do the Russian tie with people last night, and you were just fucking chilling, right? And how little energy can I use while being in this position? And then I was training down there, and I made this dude vomit after the first night of trying it. And I was like, fuck, this shit works so well. He got up and walked out and spewed.
Yeah,
I was pretty tired too, to be honest, but like I tried my best.
Yeah.
So when you rolled with him, was that just you see him on the camera, and then you obviously see him behind the scenes? Like, is he like he is on camera, or what's he like as a person?
Very nice.
Very nice.
Very nice. Very straightforward. Very serious person.
Yeah.
He's been nothing but nice to me.
Yeah.
When I used to know of him through social media, I didn't like him much because I just see what social media is, and he rubbed me up the wrong way. But meeting him in person, he was really nice, and I've had nothing but nice things to say about him as a person. His jiu-jitsu, unbelievable. You know, his mastery of efficiency is just phenomenal. His understanding of leverage is just great, and he has answers to almost all questions. Not all, no one has answers to all of them, but like to most situations, he has a very well thought through answer that comes from his own experience, and he's learnt how to be more efficient than anybody else in jiu-jitsu has ever been. There's a lot of really good competitors, a lot of strong athletic competitors that will lack a certain amount of efficiency and lack leverage, but have athleticism to back that up. But although he looks like a Greek god, I think that's more for looks and intimidation than what it is for jiu-jitsu. He doesn't seem to rely on it or need to rely on it, and he is just a world ahead of everybody else. And there's no reason other than the fact that he has obviously a desire that's far greater than anyone else in jiu-jitsu has, and he puts in the work far more, and he has a great mind and body for it. And it's a phenomenal combination. I think, and this is going to sound egotistical, I think I have the same thing. I just don't have the desire in that sport, you know. But I see a lot of similarities into the way me and him both work. You know, we're also going to be very different. And it sounds like I'm riding his coattails and trying to brag about myself, saying I'm saying we have this very similar methodologies in the way that we approach problems and the goals that we both have. I'm the same, where I want to be as efficient as possible, and I want to be able to do everything without using any kind of energy and beat every single person I compete. The only difference is I don't want to put in the work that, and I'm also a lot older, and I want to put the same thing. I want to use the same mindset that he uses in jiu-jitsu that's gotten him so much better than everyone else, and I want to use that in filmmaking. And I've used a little bit of it in jiu-jitsu, and here's an example that's used a lot of it. You know? And
that's what I was saying. Like, when you were talking last night, I was like, oh man, this is exactly what I heard Gordon talk about. Like, he'll just do position, and then they'll just figure out everything that happened, and then they'll go and talk with John and say, I figured this out, this works, what do you reckon? They bounce off each other. And they just do that everywhere. And that's exactly it. And it's fucking fun like that, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, eh?
Yeah.
The only difference was I just did that mostly with myself. Or with, if I was with Lachlan or Craig back in the day, we'd do it with each other. But yeah, having other better players to do that with is gonna help as well. But ultimately, I think it's better if you do it yourself, because then you're coming up with all the answers, and then you have, you don't need anyone other than training partners. But yeah, there's a real reason why he's far better than everyone else, and it's a real reason. You know what I mean? And most other people are trying to catch him, and it's like he's skiing down a mountain, and other people are trying to snowboard and trying to go as fast as what he is, and they're never going to. Because they're not doing what he's doing. And they're not learning the way he's doing, and they don't have the mind that he has and the experience and everything that's made Gordon who he is. And this is the thing, and I'm not going to comment on Gordon because I don't know, but being that amazing at something doesn't mean you're happy either. There is a certain amount of trauma that I think is required for most athletes to put the work in that they're going to have to put in to be great at something. And I watched the Michael Jordan documentary, unbelievable documentary, and I love him.
So good.
And, the question I'm left with is he happy? Is he really happy, or did it make him happy? And I don't know. And I have a good feeling that it probably didn't. I'm not saying he doesn't love what he's done with it, but there's a sense of satisfaction that you're never going to obtain, and you've got to understand that you're never going to obtain, but you can still enjoy it, and you can still enjoy that ride. And the mistake most people make is they don't realize that satisfaction is never going to be obtained, but they're doing something in which they don't enjoy the process of. So they're living a rough life, doing things that they don't enjoy doing for a satisfaction that's never going to go. Even if they become the best in the world by 100 times, it's still going to be empty at the end. And what Gordon is doing right now, I don't think anyone's going to do for a long time, if they ever do. But I don't think it correlates to happiness, and people should know this. So sometimes and I'm not saying that he is at all, but a lot of time the greatest athletes will not be the most mentally sound or mentally happy, because there's a lot that it takes for you to actually decide to do those kind of things. If you were very content and happy, why would you even do it?
Yes.
Why would you do it? Why would you spend that much time and effort and you damage your body and do all that? Why would you do it? You probably would not.
That's so true. It's like you talk about, like especially in the athletic world, because there's a time that it ends. And then there's all these highs, and then all of a sudden, like, what am I doing now? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what they do?
Yeah.
Drugs,
baby.
Yeah, let's go. Let's get that same high. Let's do something now. Let's destroy everything,
Yeah. But that's why it's cool seeing you, man, because it's because you're in line with your passion, or whatever you want to call it, your heart's your compass. So when jiu-jitsu is that, when this is that, that's something that I respect about you, is that you're just like, oh, I feel like this now, I'm doing this. Oh, I feel like this now, I'm doing this. And you're not staying in the thing that you're meant to be staying in, you know?
Yeah.
And that it's so cool, especially with the film and the acting thing. That's such a, I've always looked at that and like comedians as like,
That's
up
the
here,
fucking,
because you're putting yourself on show.
Yeah.
More than everything else.
It's the scariest thing, like if that's the scariest thing, eh?
Yeah.
Being an actor or a comedian, putting yourself out there. There's no really like putting yourself out there as a personality more than that in life, I don't think.
And owning it.
You know, one of my dreams, you know how everyone has a dream where you go to school and you're not wearing underwear?
Yeah.
My dream is I've gone to set and I'm acting with a big actor and I didn't know I had lines. And I keep having this fucking dream
Oh.
of there and I'm like, they're like, are you ready, Kit? And they're like, and I'm like, hold on, do I have lines? I'm like, yeah. I've got like a page monologue. I'm like, no one told me I had lines. You know, that's my dream.
Yeah.
It's fucking nuts because
Yeah.
that underlying fear. The other thing I'll add to it, and I don't mean to, I understand I'm not trying to come off preachy when I talk about happiness and all that, because
Love it.
I'm far from a lot of that. I have things that I suffer from that I cannot figure out yet. I've had anxiety since I was 16 years old, and I haven't been able to beat it yet. And it's a constant battle every day. And it's a lot of suffering. And it's the one thing in my life that if I could take out, I would do that immediately, and my life would be 100% better. So I'm not saying from an experience that there's, but I do get that, you know, chasing things that are fruitless. The one thing I do that I'm very happy with is the things that I enjoy. My biggest problem in life, other than the anxiety, is I have too many things that I enjoy doing. I have too many things I want to be really good at. I want to be a top level gamer. I love that. I also want to be one of the best writers in the world. I want to be also one of the best actors and directors and producers. And I also want to play music. I want to sing. I want to draw pictures. I want to paint. I have so many different things that I want to do. My problem is like I got to choose one and just either be like mediocre at everything or be, you know, I think I can be very good at everything, but masterful would be one.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm trying to sort of move into that. But at the same time, I'm speaking from experience because I have a lot of suffering myself that I'm trying to win, but I haven't been able to a lot of it. And the anxiety has definitely been one of it. And it probably has a lot to do with the reason why I am a high achiever in what I do as well. It probably comes with that. The ADHD as well, all those kind of things. I have a lot of things that bring me... I feel like my mind can be unbelievably productive and unbelievably destructive at the same time. And it's very hard for me to control that.
Yeah, the yin and yang of it, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. I had depression, anxiety my whole life too. But it's more now, it's like I've done a lot of meditation and a lot of things that have kind of bring me out of my thoughts and stuff like that have really, really helped me.
That's great.
But I still know if I'm eating bad or if I'm stressed about something, or biggest thing is like, what am I going to do with my life? Am I going to achieve my goal or anything like that? It leaves me wanting and leaves me feeling anxious. And I'm not saying that's the same for you, but because everyone has their own different things they're trying to figure out. But I think you're on the money with striving for a big goal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're right. The journey is the most important thing, because you might be the biggest writer in the world, but then is that going to make you happy? Because you'll get there and you go, what's next?
Exactly. And the journey changes.
Yeah.
You know, the journey from going to white to elite black belt was great. The journey from elite black belt to going to Gordon style black belt, which I never did, that doesn't seem as fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It
Yeah,
doesn't seem
fully.
as rewarding as my next journey.
Yeah.
And journeys can change. And it is really hard to accept that when someone else does it. It's also really hard to go through that yourself, because the ego loves to be praised. And this isn't the first time I've done this, where when I first went from inline hockey and, you know, being a very promising inline hockey player to football, everyone in inline hockey is like, wait, why are you doing this? Like, you're an idiot. Like, you got a career here if you stayed here. You know, not as much as what I did when I went from football to, you know, I was getting paid to play football, good money to play football, 21 years old, and I've got a job through playing football as well that I barely had to do anything just because they wanted to keep me there. And then to leave that into something I'm being highly praised for, into jiu-jitsu, where people are like, you're just a nobody again. You know, you're a nothing. And it's really hard for the ego.
Oh, yeah.
And then I went from jiu-jitsu, being on, you know, close to on top of the world with jiu-jitsu, to to go into film, and everyone in this isn't everyone, but so many people in jiu-jitsu, I felt like turned their back on me and be like, "Fuck you for going to do something else, Mr. Hollywood." And I would go from events where I used to go to events and there'd be like a line of 30 people trying to shake your hand, take photos, to people looking at you, the people that know who you are, and like, yeah, cool. You don't offer me anything anymore because I used to like you and I used to get a photo with you and talk to you because of who you were in jiu-jitsu. And now you're not that person anymore, and you don't offer that same value to me. And that hurts, and you feel that. And I remember being at the ADCC trials in Vegas a couple of years ago, and I just felt I'm walking around and like barely anyone's recognizing me, and if they do, they just don't care. And it hurts. It feels shitty going from being super respected and appreciated and to being the opposite, and then you're in another field where they don't give a fuck about you either. Yeah. You're in the film industry. Who the fuck are you? You know what I mean? Yeah. You're a nobody. You don't offer me any. So that's really difficult. My ego really wanted me to stay in jiu-jitsu and just keep thriving off this, just build it a bit more and keep sucking that appreciation and energy off people. But it's the same sort of thing. It's just all an illusion.
You got a bigger soul purpose here, eh? It's like the soul's guiding you to something bigger. You know the Arnold documentary? Mm-hmm. Did you feel? Yeah, I was like, when I was watching that, I was like, fuck, he just went from one thing to the other. But like, yeah, I get the same sense, like just like that fucking, I've just got to strive for greatness.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
And just his like innate ability to just not care what people think, just not listening to the naysayers, and just to continue doing that. And fuck, he's just amazing. Like, he's one of my heroes for sure. To go from different industry to different industry and do so well in all of them, really, like, and still be like an amazing person.
Yeah,
fucking oath.
So good.
Yeah, so let's have a look at your body, if you got a little bit of time.
Let's do it. Thanks so much for coming on the potty, and we had a good chat.
Yeah, that was awesome, man.
Sign up to his course. I wish I did that as a fucking white belt.
Yeah. So it's kitdaletraining.com.
Yeah, if you go to kitdaletraining.com and check out my newest one is the task-based games to rapidly improve your jiu-jitsu.
Cool.
I do have the art of mastering jiu-jitsu as well. That's more about my conceptual ideas in jiu-jitsu, and the art of mastering takedowns for jiu-jitsu, which is more of a takedown-based style of learning as well.
What would you say for someone, a lot of people listen to this and we spoke about jiu-jitsu and they probably start it from listening to this. For someone just starting their journey, what one should they start with?
I'd honestly get the combination. Yep. And I would get all three, because I think that all three of them work so well together, and there is a Christmas sale on right now for that. But if they were just going to get one, I would say get the task-based games.
Cool.
And then I would get the art of mastering jiu-jitsu when you're ready to apply some of those concepts in there. And then when you're looking at working takedowns, the art of mastering takedowns for that.
Yeah, sick, fucking oath.
Yeah, that's epic.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, thanks so much, dude.
Awesome
Appreciate it.
Awesome to get that side of you, and just see that depth in you, and then for the people to see it. And kitdaletraining.com, check it out. Kitdale on Instagram.
Ladies and gentlemen, Kit Dale.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, boys.
Thanks, bro.
Appreciate it. Thank you.